Welcome to this gentle Yin Yoga class, a full body beginner's guide to stretching. For this class, you're going to need 2 blocks. And I just wanted to say welcome. My name is Melissa if you're new here. We're going to start in fish pose. You can have your blocks in 2 configurations, 2 options. You can have them on high and medium, or medium and low. Both are a wonderful way to open up your chest. We're going to do all 3-minute holds in this class. So take a moment or two to find a position that feels good, that you can soften into, and stay for a while, for 3 minutes. Feel the support of your props and the ground, and let yourself focus on your breathing. You can stay here. I'm going to sit up and tell you a little bit more about this class. So this Yin Yoga class is a beginner's guide to full body stretching. But actually in Yin Yoga, stretching is not the goal. We're not trying to stretch our tissues, we're trying to give them a gentle stress. This stress helps our body to make important changes at the small level of our joints and tissues to keep them healthy. Now, most types of yoga focus on our muscles, but in Yin Yoga, we go deeper into our body to affect the ligaments, the joints, and the deep fascial networks. In Yin Yoga, we do things slowly. We sit or lie down on the floor like we are right now, and we hold our poses for a longer time, like 2 to 8 minutes. And in a typical Yin Yoga class, we do 5 to 7 poses. So in this class, we're doing 6 poses, and we're holding each pose for 3 minutes. And we take short breaks between each pose so we can feel the effect of each pose. And this helps to stress the connective tissues of our body. Now let's talk about the difference between stress and stretch. Stress is the pull or push that we put on our body parts, and stretch is how much longer they get because of that pull or push. But here's the thing, just because we stress something doesn't mean it will always stretch. So ligaments especially can be stressed in Yin Yoga, but they're not as stretchy as muscles. So we're not trying to make them stretch per se. We're trying to give them a little challenge to stay healthy. And that's way more the intention of Yin Yoga. So let's go ahead and come off our supported fish pose, where we stress the ligaments and joints across the chest, the shoulders here, put a healthy stress on them. And we're going to come down onto our backs. This is the rebound, where we feel the flow of chi in our bodies, let ourselves receive our pose. Okay, from here we're going to come into a side bend called Banana Asana. Take your feet over to the left corner of your mat. Take your torso over to the left corner of your mat. You can take your arms overhead. Hold on to your elbows or your wrists, whatever feels right that you can stay with for 3 minutes. And take a little bit just to get comfortable in your pose so that you can soften into it, be still in it, so that you can stay for that full 3 minutes, so that you can breathe. So our body needs different kinds of exercise to stay healthy. And when we do active exercises like running or playing sports, we use our muscles a lot. And this helps to make our muscles strong and it keeps our joints safe. But sometimes we need to take care of our joints in a different way. And that's where Yin Yoga comes in. In Yin Yoga, we do poses where we embrace the principle of stillness. When we stay in these poses for 3 minutes in this class, this helps to put gentle stress on our joints and other tissues. When we do this, special cells in our body, fibroblasts, chondrocytes, and osteoblasts get to work. And this helps to rebuild things like our ligaments and our cartilage and our bones. Okay, you're going to come back to the center. Bring your arms down and let the chi flow. And then we're going to go ahead and take your feet over to the right side, side bend over to the right side. And you can stay here. You don't even have to put your arms overhead, but if you want to, you can bring your arms overhead. Hold on to your wrists, your elbows, whatever feels best in your shoulders. And you're going to be on this side for 3 minutes as well. Soften your shoulders. Soften your jaw, your eyebrows. Lift the corners of your mouth. And take a breath. Come back to the center. Release the pose from your body. And just feel the flow of chi. Okay, bend your knees. Roll to your side. Let's make our way up to seated. We're going to do a pose called butterfly. You're going to bring the soles of your feet together, make a diamond shape with your legs, and you can fill the space with blocks between you and the ground. Lift up nice and tall. You're going to hinge forward until you feel that stress in the hip joints here. And you're going to be in this pose for 3 minutes. So let's take a moment to soften through your shoulders, your neck, space between your teeth. Soften through your hips, your ankles, your toes. And when the pose feels comfortable to you, make a commitment to be still and to stay here for the 3 minutes. You can let your breath drop down into your low back here. So let's talk about the difference between stress and stretch. So stress is like the push or pull we put on our body parts. And stretch is how much longer they get because of that push or pull. So different body parts can stretch, like muscles or tendons, fascia, ligaments, and joint capsules. And some parts stretch a little, and some can stretch a lot. But we don't want to stretch every part of our body. For example, we want to make some joints stronger, not stretchier. So for many people in yoga, the goal is not to stretch, but also to make their joints more stable. Stability means being strong and secure, not wobbly. So if you think about your hip joints, maybe your knees, your ankles, you don't really want those to be wobbly if you're walking down the stairs or off a curb edge. If they're wobbly, you don't want those joints to be unstable. You want them to be stable. So to get this stability, we still need to stress our body parts, but we don't want to stretch them too much. Stress and stretch are not the same. So when yoga teachers, especially those teaching Yin Yoga, talk about stretching, they might actually mean stressing. It's like giving a little challenge to our body parts without pulling them too much. That's why when we come into our Yin Yoga postures, that's why we want to be comfortable in them. That's why we want to soften in them. So hence the principle of Yin, to come into the pose, to soften so that we can stay for a while and let time and gravity do all the work. So let's come up and out of this pose. And we'll go ahead and rest back so we can feel the flow of chi. So feel the energy in and around your hip joints after that one. Maybe a little bit in your low spine. Okay, and then you're going to come up again, and we're going to do a pose called deer pose. So for this one, I want you to have one shin bone facing the short edge of your mat and one facing the long edge of your mat. And it doesn't matter which, because we're going to switch right in between, right after. And then I want you to turn towards the long edge of the mat one so that we can focus more on internal rotation. We get a lot of focus on external rotation in our yoga, so let's give the focus to the internal rotation here. So people sometimes get confused about Yin Yoga because they think it's all about pushing our joints as far as they can go. But that's not the idea. That's not what we're trying to do. So in Yin Yoga, we want to find that just right spot, like Goldilocks. Not too much stress, not too little. We do want to feel something, a bit of stress, but we don't want to go to the max. So here's how it works. We get into a position where we feel a little bit of stress, and then we wait. We stay in that position for some time. And time is more important than trying to stress the joint really hard. Some studies show that it takes about 30 minutes for our body's cells to change shape in response to the stress on the joint. So while we don't stay in a position for 30 minutes in Yin Yoga, we might stress a certain area that long by doing different poses. Okay, and then so we don't get confused about sides, I want us to just knee sway right over to the other side. So just knee sway right over. So now the leg that was internally rotated is externally rotated, facing the other short edge of the mat, and the other knee is internally rotated. Set yourself up so that your legs are at 90-90. Your internally rotated one is nice and supported by the mat. And then you're going to turn towards it, but only in a position that you can stay with. For 3 minutes, you want it to be soft. You want to put a little stress on it, not too much, something that you can stay with for 3 minutes. Know that this side will be different than the other side. Okay, you're going to release this pose from your body and lie down to feel that chi that you've accumulated in around the hip joints. Okay, and coming up to seated again, we're going to do half dragonfly pose, so sitting up nice and tall. One leg bent, you can fill the space underneath your left knee with your right leg extended and fold forward here. So we're not trying to stretch as much as possible, and we're not trying to make our joints do extreme moves in Yin Yoga. This means that if someone is super flexible, like hypermobility, or if you're pregnant, that means you have relaxin in your body, they don't need to worry about Yin Yoga making them more flexible. They just need to approach it with caution. Of course, some people with certain health conditions need to be extra careful, but for most, Yin Yoga is safe and helpful. There are lots of reasons why we practice Yin Yoga. It's not just to stress the joints. There are meridians in our body that we're affecting. There's the mindfulness aspect to it as well. So it's a really complete practice. There's much more than just stressing the joints. So there's more to it, and we're just talking about this aspect of it today. So soften your ankles here, soften your knees, soften your quadriceps. Okay, we're going to come up, pause at the top, take a breath. And let's switch sides. So you're going to bend your right leg, extend your left leg, sit up nice and tall. You can fill the space underneath your right knee with a block. Inhale, exhale, hinge forward until you feel a slight stress. Pause here, soften through your hamstring, your foot, your ankle, your knee, your hip, your shoulders. And we'll be still. And we just let time and gravity take its course here. Okay, coming up, take a breath. Then you can release this pose down onto your back. So feel the chi on the backs of your thighs, maybe in your low back. And then bend your knees, and you're going to make your hands into a soft T. Press into your feet, lift and take your hips over to the left side of the mat, and lower your knees over to the right side of your mat. So you're in a reclined twist. You're going to be here for 3 minutes. Okay, and then you're going to come back to the center. Let your spine unravel. Press into your feet, lift your hips, take them to the right side of your mat, and let your knees drop to the left side. And you're going to be here for 3 minutes. Okay, you're going to come back to the center, untuck your hips, and just see let your spine unravel here. Okay, so just letting your spine unravel after that twist. And seeing if there's anything else your body needs before you come into your final resting pose. So you might want a little bit of knees to chest. Or even a little bit of spinal rocking, bridge pose. Just see what's needed here. And then you can come into your final resting pose, which is Shavasana. You can do it with your legs long. Or if your low back is feeling tender, you might want to do it with your knees bent and your knees dropping in towards each other. Whichever is going to feel most supportive and nurturing for you right now. And I'm going to sit up and read you a poem. This poem is called Hold Out Your Hand by Julia Fehrenbacher. Let's forget the world for a while, fall back and back into the hush and holy of now. Are you listening? This breath invites you to write the first word of your new story. Your new story begins with this: you matter. You are needed. Empty and naked, willing to say yes and yes and yes. Do you see the sun shines day after day, whether you have faith or not? The sparrows continue to sing their song even when you forget to sing yours. Stop asking, am I good enough? Ask only, am I showing up with love? Life is not a straight line. It's a downpour of gifts. Please hold out your hand. Okay, gradually allow your breath to deepen. You can start to wiggle and stretch out. You can slowly make your way to seated. Thank you so much for joining me for this beginner Yin Yoga full body stretch. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Yin Yoga classes I've got tons of Yin Yoga classes here. And I would love it if you put, I know the difference between stretch and stress in the comments to know that you did this whole class. I'm sending you much love from beautiful British Columbia. May your joy be as deep as our ocean. May you be as rooted as the old growth trees in our forest. And may you be as strong as our mountains.